The first would be under 2.23711.6, which has to do with contracts and some bids that we have received. And then second would be under 2.23711.3, and that has to do with the disposition of real property that is owned by the county. And this is an ongoing matter of discussion.
And Dr. Millshouse?
Yes.
If I could just add, I think that first section A6, that's appropriate, but A29 might be even more precise. That's a discussion or award of a public contract.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So I stand improved. Thank you very much.
I'll take a motion to approve with the additional.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion second, call the roll.
Okay. Ms. Cookenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Yoder is absent. Mr. Booth?
Yes.
And Mr. Turman.
Yes.
All right. Your agenda is approved.
Next item on the agenda is approved minutes of the last meeting, October 12th. No one has any corrections to the minute. That floor is open for a motion.
I would move that we approve the minutes from October 12th.
Second. Motion second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Okay. So this is your vote on your approval of the minutes of October 12th of 2021. Ms. Cookenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Yoder is absent, and Mr. Turman.
Yes.
All right, your minutes have been approved from October 12th of 2021.
If you would like to only skip number 7 until we go down to 8A, on our golf team for the championship. So.
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I might, as you all probably know from many different sources, but it's very exciting to have the Floyd golf team here along with their coaching staff. As you know, they have recently run the state championship, and we wanted to give them an opportunity to be recognized not only by their peers in their community, but in front of you all as the elected leadership in this county, and thank them for all their good efforts on behalf of the county. And so, Mr. Chair, if I might turn over to their coaching staff for comment.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Dirk Davis. I'm the head varsity coach, and I just want you all to understand it's our sincere honor to always be able to represent Floyd County and the citizens of Floyd County. Would like to recognize my team individually. We have freshman Micah Underwood. Stand up. We have sophomore J.D. King. One of our juniors is not here tonight, Mr. Corey Powers. We also have junior Mackenzie Weddle and junior Ryan Bond. I have 2 seniors on my team this year, Caden Reinhardt and Dylan Bond. In addition to winning our 2nd state championship in this calendar year, last year's season was moved because of COVID. We'd like to recognize Mackenzie, Ryan, and Dylan for being named first team All-State, as well as first team All-Region. They absolutely represent our community and our county very proudly, and we thank you all.
Good work, Buffaloes.
Thank you. And I'm going to take them out, and we'll let you all continue with your meeting.
Y'all welcome to stay.
We appreciate that. We'll let you all carry on.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Job well done.
So, I believe I can squeeze in our next one in is the approval of disbursements, and we also have some new ones.
Mr. Chair, if I might, you have the, your disbursements that you were sent in advance for approval. In addition, there's a couple other ones, which, candidly are the things that were on, just some automatic things like Indeed and some of those kind of things. So we just pulled the receipts today.
No one has any questions, I'll open the floor for approval.
I'll make a motion. It doesn't matter. As long as it gets done, we have to pay them. I'll make a motion, we approve the disbursements along with the additions. Second.
Motion second, any other discussion? Call the roll.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the vote on approval of the disbursements, including the ones that were late arrivals. And we will start with Mr. Booth.
Yes.
Mr. Coleman.
Yes.
Ms. Cookingham.
Yes.
Mr. Yoder is absent, and Mr. Turman.
Yes.
All right, the disbursements have been approved. Thank you. Look at that.
3 or 4 minutes there, if you got anything you can squeeze in. I will say, I'm going to pass this letter around, so, thank you, Nate, for recognition for her retirement. Community services.
Well, Ms. Chair, the only thing that I have that I think is probably super short is just to let you know that we did go ahead and submit the grant request to Division of Wildlife to do a gated green box site near the Commerce Center. Well, we currently have a green box site, but the funding would potentially be to gate that in, have some more bear-proof boxes, and also some bear-resistant recycling items, places for recycling, and potentially even a gate with a QR code access or something like that. I have gotten a call that I'll return tomorrow from the department asking a couple questions about the grant. So we will see how that works, but we're moving forward on trying to get that taken care of and see if we can get some funding out of that. We do also have an outside party who has offered to help pay for some of the signage, as long as it also encourages recycling and helps people understand how to recycle effectively. So appreciate that.
Good.
I have one question. Can we provide big out with box?
What's that?
No, I messed up Camp 5 when I came by the state shed up there. There was a new box inside the gate.
It does look like ours. I don't know, but it does look like ours, only brand new. You are correct.
Those not the ones for the
You look at the better box.
CWD?
They, I don't know. I will check on, because I don't know. Yeah, so there's also, I think what Mr. Coleman is alluding to is we've also, working with wildlife, putting out boxes particularly related to chronic wasting and those kind of things. So that
Is that
might
what's
be
on the route outside of?
And the bird basket.
Oh, okay.
There's one right here for the curve.
Right.
I could be wrong, but that's what I understood.
That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's about 3 or 4 sites that are specifically for that purpose.
Could be wrong.
Well, that's
I
good.
think you're right.
You look like a pretty secure box.
Yes, we are, I will say, experiencing some challenges. You may be aware that we have several folks that work solid waste who have recently tested positive for COVID. And so we have abbreviated staff while they are out recovering, and we have also just put out signage to let folks know that unfortunately we'll have to shorten the evening hours until we're back closer to full staff. So while we're sometimes been open till 7, tonight we had to close at 4 because there just isn't enough staff.
So this was the first night?
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll all be back
Disregard my
soon.
past conversation now. Anyway, we get started here. Is the intent that all persons attending the meeting of the board, regardless of handicap and conditions, shall have an opportunity to participate. If any person present requires any special assistance, please let the board know that in order that arrangements can be made. I'm smothering. So I will open the floor for public comment. When you come forward, state your name, the district you're from, and limit your comments to 4 minutes.
Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Marie March, and I'm a private citizen who lives in Courthouse District. I came here tonight to speak about how disappointed I am in one of our Floyd County supervisors. I listened to the audio of Supervisor Linda DeVito Cookenbook attack Floyd Town Councilman David Whitaker in a recent Town Council meeting. David was standing up for law enforcement, and he requested more money to fund our deputies. And for this, he was attacked. And this isn't the first time this supervisor has brought her politics and a narrative to this board. I distinctly remember attending the Second Amendment sanctuary meetings, and she wasn't exactly a staunch supporter of our gun rights. She lectured us, and she tried to bully the audience, and for that, she was booed. Our Floyd community is not going to stand for our police officers to not be supported, just like we aren't going to stand for our gun rights to be infringed. We also aren't going to stand for our elders to be disrespected and bullied. Thanks for having me this evening. God bless.
How y'all doing? Jeff Dowd from Locust Grove. I'm a taxpayer in Locust Grove District. That should not suggest that I speak on behalf of all taxpayers in Locust Grove District. I come here tonight to express my disgust over Linda DeVito's actions at the Floyd Town Council meeting, which took place on Thursday, October 7th. What kind of elected official pretends to be confused about a person's intent as to whether or not they're representing an entire council or they're speaking on behalf of themselves? How could Mrs. DeVito think that Mr. Whitaker was, quote, threatening her, close quote, when he never even mentioned her name, not once in his remarks? But somehow Mrs. DeVito took David's comments personally. I actually don't think so. I think Mrs. DeVito was called into that meeting by Mayor Will Griffin, who was acting like a child to defend his mayorship. In fact, the entire meeting seemed to be more like an opportunity for Mayor Griffin's friends to get in there and bash the councilman. It needs to be said, Mrs. DeVito, we the people of Floyd County are not fooled. I would suggest to you that we appreciated it when you abstained from voting when the board voted to pass the resolution to reject the transgender policy, which is ruining our schools. That helped the motion pass. I just wish you would have abstained from showing up on the October 7th town council meeting. But you know, as I think about it, I'm actually glad you did show up, because we now know that you are more concerned about Mr. Whitaker's comments. and his decision to run for mayor, and less concerned about what's happening with our law enforcement. That will be good fodder for our campaigns against you in 2023. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else coming forward, I'll declare the public comment period closed. All right. We're a little bit ahead of time. You want to go ahead with some of yours first?
Sure, Mr. Chair, I'll be happy to jump forward.
Unless somebody wants to go in now for closed session.
I can cover a couple of things if you'd like.
Okay.
I'll move on to the personnel update for just a moment. As, of course, I just mentioned to you, we've had some challenges with personnel getting ill at the solid waste facility, and so we certainly ask you to keep them all in your thoughts and prayers as we move forward and wish them a rapid recovery. In addition to that, we have three, on the upside, I guess I should say, on the upside, we have 3 sets of positions that are currently open that we are in the process of working towards filling. One of those is for an IT technician, so essentially someone to be the county's IT person. And as Mr. Sowers and I interview people, we essentially describe it to them as everything helping people with forgotten passwords, through how to work through Microsoft and email issues, to helping Kim and I come up with better ways to use technology to improve efficiency, all the way to, oh, by the way, can you also protect us from ransomware and all of those things. So they understand it's a very broad job description. Kevin and I have now interviewed by phone 5 different individuals, and we have 1 or 2 more we're going to give a shot. And then our next tries will be to bring some folks in, hopefully next week, for in-person interviews with the management team and a couple of folks on the staff who are very good at IT. And hopefully we'll have some good news there soon. We've had a couple that are promising. In addition to that, we have posted for essentially an advanced maintenance / person who would also be responsible for being a trainee to start working with Mark Bolt on residential building permits. You all have heard me mention before, the number of permits has gone up by now more than 50% over the previous year. And we're actually running out of file cabinets for all the permits. So it's been a very, very busy year. So hopefully we'll get Mark some assistance soon. We have been trying to catch up on a lot of maintenance things. And so we have now replaced 80 light bulbs in the courthouse. I think that's a new record. So it should be very, very bright in there for everyone who works in the courthouse. And we've been working through replacing a lot of air filters and those kind of things that had fallen behind a little bit, and starting to work on some other things, our new HVAC work with Johnson Controls, some of those kind of things. And then finally, the other group of positions we have open is we have posted for basic and advanced EMS. And of course, these have all been advertised once and will be advertised again in the Floyd Press. They're also up on Indeed. This is somewhat different than before. These are all full-time positions, and they will be on a 24/72 schedule. So what that means is work 24 hours, be on call 24 hours in case someone who's supposed to be in that next shift is ill or something like that, and then they would have 48 hours off. In addition to that change, we would hopefully be scheduling almost a year in advance, so people would know when it is that they could schedule their family vacations, etc. So hopefully that will be helpful, and we have, we're hoping to hire 3 to 5 people to fill slots for that and move to the new model that you approved in an earlier meeting.
Can I ask you a question
Yes, sir.
on that?
Absolutely.
Why did y'all decide not to hire part-time?
So kind of what we had presented to you all sitting as the EMS board as opposed to the board of supervisors is to move primarily to having full-time staff that works this 24/72 schedule. The challenge has been with the part-time folks is candidly we've not been able to get many of them anymore. Unfortunately, due to COVID, a lot of the places where those folks were working full-time, they are no longer allowing them to do part-time work for EMS. So that's been the big change there. We may look at some of those part-time to start filling in if this doesn't work, but the concern that we were really trying to address is making sure that we always had 2 trucks fully staffed 24/7, 365. And so that's, as you all have heard say before, that's become more challenging. So our hope was full-time would do it.
I wonder if there's some way there you could come up for that they would have like a standby if you get an emergency where you're so understaffed, you could maybe call them.
That would be great.
Okay, because the reason I was asking, I was just getting the information for the young lady I was telling you about, and she was greatly disappointed.
Yeah.
She worked hard to get her EMT, and
Yes.
she thinks she's in limbo.
Yes. Well, please have her or anyone else reach out to Kevin Sowers on our staff if they are interested for that kind of backup position. And I also would be remiss if I didn't recognize, of course, the volunteers have done a tremendous amount, particularly in Indian Valley, across the county, but that one in particular works very, very hard. And so once we kind of start get this scheduling together, we intend to sit down with them and try to work through if we have holes. We know a month in advance, maybe we can start having some of those folks out and work out some kind of arrangement with them as well, and some of these part-time folks. So I certainly would not want anyone to think that our volunteers weren't terrific. We just, with 70% of the workforce working out of the county, that's also become kind of slim. So.
This point maybe like a reserve
Yes.
would work over that.
That'd be great. Mr. Chair, if you'd like me to go on, since we have a few more minutes, and maybe we can, as you know, your radio RFP is outstanding, and we've actually extended, with you all's approval, almost a month, how long people have. So the due date for the final RFP will be November 8th at 4 p.m. I know a couple of you have asked about that, so I wanted to make sure that was clarified. Let's see, beyond that, most of the other things I think are either action items or require a little bit more discussion than the next couple of minutes. So my suggestion would be to give yourself 2 minutes or follow my watch and call it 7:30.
By the time I get confused reading this, we'll have to be right on time, I believe. I'll take a motion to go into closed session under 2.23711A1 and, well, actually 2 of them on A1 and then 2.2-3711.6 and .3.
I believe it's changed it to 29.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I think we'll add 29 if that's right, so we'll get all of them. And
Yeah,
make
we
sure
got
we're
them all
covered.
in there. 6A.
Oh, thank you. And just to add to the merriment, thank you, Cindy has reminded us we need to also do, let's see, that's listed as A1.
It's A7.
A7, okay, so under the consultation related to opioid litigation, which is already on the written agenda, apparently that needs to be
Just got a typo.
A7. That's a typo.
We just got a typo there, yeah, that's A7. The motion should include that, under 2.23711A1, that's discussion, consideration, or interviews with prospective candidates for employment, and or appointment to boards and commissions. 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel pertaining to pending or threatened litigation. That's with regard to the opioid litigation. We'll be discussing potential settlement in that matter. Under A29, that is for award of a public contract regarding the expenditure of public funds, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. And discussion concerning disposition of real estate under A6. It's for investment of public funds, under A3. Acquisition of real property for public purpose or the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. And in this case, we'd be talking about potential disposition of publicly held property.
What he said.
And that's the motion I would be asking.
That's reason I gave you a couple extra minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion second, call roll.
Ms. Cookenberg.
Yes.